Welcome to the Photographers Podcast, where we interview photographers from across the country. Every month, we will bring you a new personality where we step into the captivating world where moments freeze, emotions speak, and stories unfold with the click of a shutter. In today's episode, we will meet concert photographer Ian Macready. Ian has been shooting concerts for over 2 decades, and we can't wait to hear his insights.
Hey folks, and welcome to this edition of the Photographers Podcast. We're here today in the historic Regent Theatre, and many of you have been here to see some tribute shows or even some plays. And today we have event photographer extraordinaire Ian Macready. How are you, Ian? Thanks for joining us.
Hey, not a problem. Thank you for thinking of interviewing me.
Well, I've wanted to talk to you for a long time about your experiences in this type of photography. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your journey getting here?
Well, it started a long time ago in video. In high school, I was doing video of football games so the coaches could look at the plays afterwards.
Right.
So that was sort of the very beginning of this kind of covering things. Just went to Canada College for radio and television broadcasting arts, which is more directed towards broadcast. Ended up at a TV station, went through national networks, and especially in news. I was doing a lot of news coverage in the early days, everything, right? Lugging pounds and pounds of gear on my shoulder.
The equipment was much different then.
Well, much different, yeah.
Yes.
And so fast forwarding through all of that and into corporate television and educational television, and then sort of the shine came off the video a little bit with some of the kids coming out of college, knowing some of the more modern equipment, but not being able to tell a story. So it was just sort of frustrating.
Okay.
So that's an important part to me, even in photography today, is telling stories. So.
Well, we certainly have seen some fantastic imagery from you on this stuff. Let's talk about some of your early career experiences, like you said, with television and some of your, educational videos. Like, what would go into doing that work?
Well, I played many roles within the production team on some of those things, but news, I'd be out on a road with a reporter, with all the gear on my shoulder and shooting a reporter, shooting the scene.
So you were the guy in the background.
I was the guy in the background, yeah. That's 99.9% of what I did is the background stuff.
So did you ever work with the CP24 folks or those guys? Because they were kind of the pioneers of that kind of on-the-road, remote kind of broadcasting.
Well, I came to City TV before CP24 was around. Okay. So City TV was sort of honing that thing a bit. By then, though, I was in the building in the back room on what they called a videotape area.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
When we had tape and video, and so.
So you would have worked with Moses Zeimer and those guys, eh?
Yeah.
Wow, that's kind of a big deal.
J.D. Roberts, when he was a music reporter.
Well, and you remember J.D., he became a big shot on ABC, right?
Well, ABC, and now it's with Fox. Yep.
Oh my goodness gracious. So you've been around a little while.
A little bit, yeah.
We're the same vintage though, right? I should be careful.
Well, I don't know. I think I'm younger than you, but.
Yeah, well, we'll go with that, okay? Let's talk about gear, because for this kind of photography, lighting and being prepared for that. So what kind of gear works for you?
What I use, I swear by it because it just seems to work for me, is a Nikon D750, and it's not a mirrorless camera, but it's a very good camera. I have my favorite lens, the one I almost always use for these things, is a
24 to 120. Yes.
24 to 120 lens.
Well, that's pretty versatile,
F4,
right?
F4, yeah. It gives me a good range.
Well, what I love about the F4 is it forces you to get more depth, right? Because if you have a 2.8 lens, sometimes you're only getting from the nose in.
Yeah.
With the f4, it forces you to get more.
Yeah, and that is all about the angles too. Sometimes the angles are just off a little bit, and so even the f4 doesn't quite reach the way you want it to. The hand is extended or something like that too. So yeah, you really do have to play with it. But I mean, that's part of the game, right?
Right. So video is becoming a lot easier. I mean, we're shooting this now with 2 Samsung S21s. I mean, who would have thought? You were lugging around a big camera, and today I'm lugging around a couple small phones and a microphone.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on video today? Have you still gotten away from it? Like you said, you kind of lost the touch, but what are your recommendations to other people?
Well, I guess go with what works for you, but the phones today are quite amazing. If you were doing more professional stuff, you might find you run into some limitations in some of the things you want to do.
Right.
But 4K is pretty versatile. You can do some pretty amazing things. In the pro world, that may not be enough. I use my Pixel 7
right.
sometimes when I want to catch some video for a show I happen to be photographing, and I just want to grab a...
Yeah, I got to think that in the next year, I mean, in the next 6 months, we're going to see even more changes. I mean, the Samsung has an S24 that's come out now with a 10 times optical zoom.
Yeah.
So when we're shooting or videoing from the back of the house, now you don't have to get into that digital zoom.
Yeah.
You can use the optical zoom and get that 4K.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. Another analogy I use with the video is we don't use point and shoot cameras when we're shooting shows like this.
That's right. Yeah.
And essentially that's what the phone is a point and shoot. I also have a Canon XA60 professional.
Yes.
Low end, granted, but the professional camera. And
so what does that give you over the phones? Is it the depth of field? Is it that bokeh?
Well, all of the adjustments that tend to be automated on the phones.
Right.
So you've got all the stuff that you have in your professional still camera also. So you've got, you can play with the depth of field. You can play with the focus, and you can to get the bokeh the way you want it to be or whatever. So
I
think a lot more adjustments.
I think the phone is a great way to get started, and if you really get interested into it, and what's really great I find with these phones is their ability to deal with the light that's in a place like the Regent is so good. It certainly gets you almost everywhere you want to be. And to be honest, when you want to have 2 or 3 cameras set up, they're a lot easier to hook up on a tripod or something, right? That. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah. Well, the shooting is easier itself. It's just that you're giving up some of the decision making that you would make. You're giving up to a chip in a camera.
I would agree with that. Yeah. Well, I'm going to show a few sample videos in here while we're talking, just to show what you can get with this. So, let's talk about your favorite. I mean, look, you and I get to do this cool thing. Yeah. People are, they go, "Wow, I wish I could do that." Now, what drives me a bit nuts is people don't. It's work.
Yes.
I mean, I come out of a shoot and I'm tired, I'm sweating. You're up, you're down, you're around. And after a while, you get beyond the show itself and you get to the job you have to do, right? But you've got to have some favorite shots that you've taken.
Well, I can't think of anything specifically off the top of my head. However, the ones I like are ones where even if the person isn't lit, I can deal with that in post. But with the background, it's got a nice glow, whether it's a glow directly behind the head or an overall.
But you have to look for that, right? Like you have to maneuver yourself to find those.
Yeah. And one of the ways I think about it is, I tell you a philosophy. It doesn't deal with that specifically, but the philosophy I have is I come into the show, and I'm looking for. I come in early first of all, get to know people, get to hang out with people. But I also, if I have access to backstage, I walk around backstage because it's dark during the show. I want to make sure I'm not tripping over a guitar case during the show.
So you're talking about prep, right?
Yeah, so prep. But the other thing is, while I'm shooting it, I want to consider myself to be a part of the band. I want to get right in under their skin kind of thing, right? And understand what they're doing. And that helps me to look for the moments that we've talked a lot about the tell. So that's incorporated into that, right?
Well, let's talk about the tell, because that's something I tend to teach people when they're saying, like, what makes a good, like, so often in this kind of photography, we call it mic face, right? Where the mic's right in the face. So talk about what we mean by a tell so that you can maybe avoid those situations.
Well, you're just observing when that case a singer, but you're also observing a trumpet player or a saxophone player, right? You know, like the number of times they got a shot when they're just taking a breath,
right? And that's what pulls them back and creates that space.
Or even their lips just aren't formed around the mouthpiece sort of thing, right? So it bugs me, and so I like to make sure that they're actually performing a note. Even the tells for guitar players, you know that they're going to be, you know, if you're paying attention to the music itself, being a part of the band, and you know this piece of music's coming up, and the guitar's got a big solo, you know, he's probably going to do a guitar face or a
well, and that's you know, that leads me to thinking about the energy that's on stage, how it translates to the audience and to us. If we're finding we can't get a shot, I find the audience probably is not enjoying the show, because let's put it this way, it's theatrics as much as it is music, right? Do you find that?
Yeah, absolutely, for sure. Yeah, it's part of why I want to be a part of the band in my mind, is just to try and to be a part of it. And if all the other performers in my band aren't playing their part, I want to be the one that's playing my part.
So they're actors.
Yeah, right. And so I want them to. I want to look for the you know, towards the end of the song, when you see the other band members turn towards the drummer. Okay, well, the drummer might be doing a big high stick thing, you know, for instance.
Well, you love to shoot drummers.
Oh, I love shooting drummers.
Yeah. So tell me a little bit about the challenges of shooting a drummer and why.
Well, drummers have cymbals in front of them, and sometimes it's really hard to get that shot. I notice that a lot of more professional ones, the ones that maybe have maybe it's just more of an ego, I don't know. They tend to have their drums, their cymbals sort of set to the side more and stuff. And that might be a skill thing where they, you know, they're able to play like that. But but that's the main challenge, is getting an angle on the shot. Not only getting the angle, but not having a keyboard player in the way of the excellent shot. All of those things.
And the drummer's always at the back. Yeah. Right?
So you'll see there's some shots I do where the drummer is positioned sideways on the stage, which was kind of neat. I was able to go backstage and shoot them straight on. And
well, let's talk about when you go backstage, because there's got to be like 9/10 of all the photographers out there can't go backstage.
That's right. Yeah.
So talk to us about the experience of going backstage and what opportunities that opens up for you.
I always like to try and include an audience shot somewhere, and that's a great place to get an audience shot, especially when they do one of their
they have the camera and the light comes on.
Desperado song comes up, and they're doing and the lights are going sort of.
Yeah,
and it's a good video opportunity too if I have the presence of mind to do that. But yeah, so you're getting a different perspective on the band. I like to. One of the ways I think is I want to give the people who were at the show, when they're looking at the photos later on, yes, that's the experience that's the experience I had with seeing the band. But then I want to throw a curve at them and say, oh, well, that's a different perspective I didn't even see, sort of thing, right?
Yeah, well, your shots just off the stage are definitely unique, and I know when there's something going on in the audience that you can capture from behind the band, that tells the audience what the band is seeing, right? Yeah. And so now you're a storyteller now.
That's
right.
Goes back to the news.
You're a storyteller of the show and how it's going and how everybody's interacting. Yeah. I find you do that better than anybody I know. I've tried to go behind the stage, and I'm just not getting the same quality work that you do. So I think you've definitely perfected that. Yeah. You should write a book now on how to shoot backstage, right?
Sure. It's a pretty small topic, but okay. It might be just a pamphlet.
A pamphlet. So let's talk about some more of the challenges. Like you get some brass bands up there, and there's so many people on stage. It's really hard to separate people from side. So how do you deal with those situations?
It's just working the angles. It's just like, especially if you get a chance to be backstage, it's just sort of trying to eke yourself in without stepping on the person who's doing the monitors and behind the stage. Just trying to work the angles and get the shots. Or there's very few tells this way, but I mean, just getting the other player to lean back to do their note sort of thing, and all of a sudden now I've got a shot of the sax player that's always behind everybody.
Do you know?
So it's just paying attention.
To that point, when you get some of the newer bands that you've created a relationship with them, I have told them, I said, guys, look, play to me sometimes.
Yeah.
Because if you're playing to me and you're getting like a lot of energy and a lot of cool faces and that, the audience sees that too.
Yeah.
And so that's another thing. We're not mentoring the bands, but we're kind of mentoring some of these younger bands, right?
Yeah.
Like, help me make you look great. Yeah. Right.
And that's something if I get a chance to talk to the band before the show, then I say I'm here.
Yes.
Not only for my employer, but also for you.
Yeah,
to
absolutely.
Make you look good.
Absolutely.
When you look good, I look good also. So it's a symbiotic thing. And then I try and talk to them after their show too. And I tell them, especially if it's a band that keeps them coming back, I try and tell them, I'm going to tag you in my Facebook post of this, so you're going to see the shot sort of thing.
Right.
And if you like it and share it with your people, then they're going to see more of you.
Right.
The next time you come back, I want you to think about that and realize that 100%. I'm here and you're going to...
100%. Think about the theater in this, correct?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I want to go back to...
I should interrupt you one thing. The one thing I don't like is when the guitar player plays to you and they step right out of the light to get close to you.
Well, see, that's a challenge. So one of the challenges for sure is our country singers are always wearing a baseball cap or a hat. So the shadows come on them, and the only time you're getting a face is when they put their head back, which is rare.
Yeah.
So country music is a hard shoot every time.
Yeah.
Kim Mitchell was here, same problem. He's wearing a hat. You're not getting a lot of eyes. Now you got some great eye shots with him.
Yeah.
And he had his cap down really low.
And part of what I look for there is the opportunities where sometimes the light reflects off other things.
Well, thank goodness.
And I'm paying attention to that sometimes too, right? And there's some light right on his face under that hat.
Yeah, thank you. But you had to be ready, right?
Yes,
you had
absolutely.
to be ready. And this gets us into a bad habit a lot of photographers develop, and it's called chimping, right? So to those people that know, chimping is when you take a picture and you want to look at it right away, and you lost 4 other shots. Yeah. So don't chimp is the rule. But we do fall into it sometimes, right?
We still do, even though we know not to.
Because we want instant gratification, right?
Well, it's not even that. It's just because I am looking for a shot of that person. Have I got that shot of that person? I don't know, right?
Well, and to discipline yourself to wait till the end of the song for you to do that, right?
Yeah, that's true, yeah.
So, we talked about Kim Mitchell. We have seen some pretty cool artists that... for some reason have lived from the 70s and the 80s. They're still performing, and they're performing because they're good on stage. So let's talk a little bit about that. And in this theater, we've seen Chilliwack, we've seen April Wine, we've seen Lighthouse, we've seen there was Kim Mitchell, but then before Kim Mitchell there was Saga.
Yes, that's right.
And I know Saga's one of your favorites.
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
And what makes Saga so cool for you?
It's interesting because in a way it's almost a negative thing, but it's not. In this case, they've been doing their show for so long. I can almost predict what they're going to do next because it's a little bit repetitive. Within that, they do some unique things, which is really cool.
Right.
But so one of the things I like about them is that they, I can count on good shots. They do the hand up in the air a lot, and
and they give you a lot of the tells, right?
Yeah.
Like they help a lot.
Yeah.
But beyond that, they sing so well.
Yes. Yeah. They're very tight band. Yeah.
Very tight band.
Yeah.
Lighthouse, when they played here, they were a bigger band, but Lighthouse, I grew up with that band. And, it's just, we go back in time. We go back into when we were children. And so as we're shooting them, we're enjoying that moment, right?
Yeah, you try and keep the excitement down so that you can pay attention to what you're doing, by all means. Yeah.
Well, I think some of your best shots are your drummer shots for sure. But can you recall, I don't know, like Abamania or the Seeger Forever band?
Yeah.
Like, which ones resonate with you even right now as we're sitting here? Like, I know trying to remember everybody you've shot is hard, but
well, you mentioned the Seeger band. I mean, they're a tribute band, so they're not the actual artist, but they want.
Oh, they're the closest thing I've ever seen to the real thing.
Of course they are. Yeah,
they're so good.
But that's the thing, is that they're trying harder almost than the original act. Kind of the original act. And we talked about Saga a little bit. They're maybe not one of them, sort of thing. But some of the original acts are like, yeah, okay.
My 19th time here.
Here's my 16th song. Blah blah blah.
It's true.
Yeah, but and I don't know. I haven't seen Seeger live, so I don't know whether he's like that or not. But these guys are trying to they're trying to satisfy the big fans, the fans that really love the Seeger music, so they want to come as authentic as possible in the end.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's what I like about some of these. Some of the tribute bands are like just phoning it in.
Some of them.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the thing to remember. You may not like the music that you're hearing, and my example is Judas Priest. Not my favorite band, but boy, one of the best shoots I ever had.
Yeah.
They have color, they have the outfits, they own the stage.
Yeah.
And when you're shooting that, it almost shoots itself.
Yeah.
Right? You just have to be ready all the time.
Yeah.
And that's what I enjoy about this kind of photography, right?
Yeah.
It's just, you don't know what you're going to get.
Yeah. And like we've shot Crown Lands before, and
Yes.
they've got some good action. I like the Sky Diggers. They're a folk band, essentially,
Yes.
but they have such great stage presence, and there's always something interesting to shoot with them, for instance, right? And so
Well, Crown Lands, I mean,
the hair,
Kevin with whipping his hair back, and and if you get some backlighting on that situation, it just makes for a different kind of picture, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
So the technology is changing so much all the time, good and bad. Trying to keep up, I guess, for us, thank God, because it keeps us busy, keeps us motivated. But how are you keeping up with? Are you taking courses? Do you belong to a club, that sort of thing?
I belong to the Oshawa Camera Club, and we're always doing workshops of very interesting things, even if it's not something per se that I'm interested in. You always learn something about the photography itself in those workshops. Amazing speakers. It's always good to get a part of a group of like-minded people in anything you do.
At anything you do, yeah.
But photographers, if you're living in Oshawa, sign up for the Oshawa Camera Club. You don't have to be an amazing photographer, but you might become one because you're seeing amazing speakers every month.
Disclaimer here, we're both in the Oshawa Camera Club, but we're so in love with that club because we have some of the best photographers in the world.
Yeah.
They help keep us humble.
Yeah.
Because every time you think you're all that in a bag of chips, you see someone that does something better. And I'm starting to become a bit more philosophical about my photography, trying to get stories and inner meaning and stuff like that. Whereas when I first started, and before I was in a club, it was all about just shoot. And I always thought I was better than I really was.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you get humbled really quick.
Real quick, isn't that true?
Yeah.
Ian, we're getting to the end of the show. I really want to thank you for giving our audience a chance to see inside this kind of photography. Why don't you tell them where they can see your work?
Well, mostly I concentrate on Facebook and my website. My website is currently out of date, but as of this interview, I'm going to update it for you. and Facebook. I'm kind of old school. I do a little bit of Instagram, but
so what's the website name?
www.macready.ca. MACCREADY.ca.
Lucky for you, I will put the name right down at the bottom of the video, right here, somewhere around here. Well, thanks a lot, man. It's been a real pleasure to talk to you. I've wanted to do this for so long.
It's been a pleasure talking to you too. I mean, I respect your work also, and this is a great thing you're doing.
Well, we've got to
Meeting some
get us shy folks out there in the public, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks again.
Yeah. First time in this side of the camera, right?
Yeah. All right, folks. Thanks for joining us here, and stay tuned for our next episode. Hey folks, thanks for joining the Photographers Podcast. Before we get going, I want to bring awareness to a terrific organization that looks after our young girls. It's called Girls Inc., and they're all across North America. I have Shauna here with me today to talk all about what you do.
Thank you so much. So Girls Inc. is a registered charity that provides programming to girls 6 to 18 years old. All of our programs are designed to build confidence in every area of a girl's life and give her the tools to grow up healthy, educated, and independent.
Yeah, it's very important to look after our girls today, especially with COVID out there. I'm sure they're isolated and maybe more susceptible to issues.
Absolutely. So during COVID, of course, as we know, everybody is living their lives online. Girls in particular are very susceptible to, they're seeing feeds all day of highly sexualized, retouched images of girls, and there's an alarming number of predators that are out there online right now that are taking advantage of the fact that girls are online.
Well, I congratulate you on everything you've done.
Thank you.
Guys and girls, grab your cup of coffee, enjoy the rest of the podcast, but please help out any organization that helps our young children out whenever you can. Thanks.
Thank you.
It's time for the Photographer Spotlight. Every month we will feature a photographer that is worth a follow on social media. This month's spotlight is on one of Newfoundland's most distinguished photographers, Gord Follett. Gord's lens serves as a conduit between the rugged landscapes and the resilient spirit of Newfoundland. His photographs are not merely snapshots, but rather vivid narratives that transport us to the heart of this enchanting province. What sets Gord apart is his ability to capture the essence of Newfoundland in its purest form. Whether it's the rugged coastline or the classic view into village life, Gord's images are imbued with a sense of authenticity and depth that is truly captivating. What makes Gord's work even more remarkable is his unwavering commitment to preserving Newfoundland's cultural heritage. Through his photography, you will be transported to this magical land. From the classic fishing villages and lighthouses to the impressive icebergs, Gord's vision of Newfoundland invites us all to enjoy the beauty of this unique place. So let us applaud Gord Follett, a master storyteller whose photographs capture the very soul of Newfoundland. Gord Follett, this month's Spotlight.